मैकेनिक्स थ्योरी ऑफ स्कैटरिंग के ऊपर अपना व्याख्यान देंगे। रविकांत चौहान।
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, BD sir, for nice introduction. And I am very happy that I am giving something in front of the student in the such COVID-19 situation. And first of all, I want to say I am going to speak in the theory of scattering. Basically, the theory of scattering is the last part of quantum mechanics too. So before delivering this lecture, I think all of you are aware with the basics principles of the quantum mechanics. I think you are aware with the Schrodinger equation, de Broglie wavelength, and other thing also. So the things which I am going to start, that is the scattering, and this is my first slide. Basically, what is the scattering? In physics, a change in the direction of motion of a particle because of collision with another particle. When two particles comes closer and they interact with each other, and due to the field of each other, they will go in the different direction. Basically, this simple phenomena is called the scattering. There are the two type of scattering. One is the classical scattering. Second one is the quantum scattering. In case of classical scattering is the event in which two or more bodies exert force on each other in about the relatively short time. If you think what is happening in our solar system, what is happening in our galaxies, all thing is going on with the on the basic principle of the classical scattering. And basically, with the help of the classical scattering, we have developed the Kepler's problem, and how our system like Earth and other system is rotating continuously and they are not colliding. All these things we can explain with the help of classical scattering. Now, what is the quantum scattering? In quantum mechanics, the scattering amplitude is probability amplitude of outgoing spherical wave relative to the incoming plane wave in the stationary state of the scattering process. The latter is described by the wave function. Basically, in case of quantum mechanics, everything is depends on the probability density. I think all the participants. Hello, hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. As you know that in case of the quantum mechanics, all things goes on the probability distribution. So when a beam highly energetic is coming into the target position, and how this will distribute according to the scattering potential, that we will calculate in the quantum scattering. So with the simple examples here, we can see in case of the classical scattering, two mass particles having the mass m1 and m2, their initial velocity is u1 and u2, and they comes closer and they contact for a short time. After that, they will go back with the different velocities like v1 and v2. So this is the normal case, and generally we solve this problem in different standard, and there is no thing. And this is the linear scattering. There is the non-linear scattering also, where in case of the non-linear scattering, the particles comes closer at a certain angle. They not come closer like head-on collision. The different kind of collision is also possible here. I don't know how these lines is coming on my screen. I think someone is doing something. Please don't share your screen. So
अगर
in
ये इस
case of
तरह से एक
non,
1 minute, if
sorry,
any persons are doing like that, okay, we will just remove it because we have lots of people are coming there, okay, बहुत सारे लोग जो है वो वेटिंग में है, ठीक है। अगर इस तरह से अगर कोई करता है तो बिल्कुल हम उसको डायरेक्ट जो है बिना वार्निंग के जो है हटा देंगे, ठीक है। ओके, नाउ यू कैन प्रोसीड सर।
yeah, yes, sir. So in case of the non-linear scattering, the particle m1 and m2 is coming in the different angles, and they are coming closer, and after they is going into the different direction. And there is a two type of the thing: the left frame and center of mass frame. Any collision problems we can solve into the two different frames, left frames and center of mass frame. What is this? In case of the left frame, the person is observing the condition when two particles is coming closer. But in case of center of mass frame, we feel we are sitting in one body and another body is coming towards the this one. So so we think one body is in the rest and another body is coming to close. So all the problem generally we solve in the center of mass frame, because the solving problem in center of mass frame is quite easy compared to the left frame. So, and this is the three basic principle of the conservation law to solve the classical scattering, and only these three Conservation law is valid if you are talking about the galaxies or solar system, and if you are talking about the electron, proton moving. No one situation can violate these three rules. First one is the conservation of momentum. M1 U1 plus M2 U2 is equals to M1 B1 plus M2 B2, which simply says that the initial momentum is equal to final momentum, and the conservation of energy E1 plus E2 is equals to E1 prime plus E2 prime. Or basically this conservation of energy is the basically add up of the kinetic energy and potential energy, where the kinetic energy is half of mv square and potential energy is mgh. And if you are working on a plane and the plane has the same height from the ground, then there is no need to take the potential energy in your contact. Basically you can directly go on with the kinetic energy. And third one is the conservation of angular momentum. Conservation of angular momentum is also very important in classical mechanics as well as quantum mechanics, because we cannot violate this one also. So before starting the quantum theory, I just want to give you one example, and I want to attract your interest in this topic. Basically, what happened in the 1911, a scattering experiment has performed by the Rutherford. Rutherford is that's called the Rutherford scattering. Rutherford scattering is an elastic scattering of the charged particle by the Coulomb interaction. It is a physical phenomena explained by the Rutherford in 1911, and finally they developed the model of the atoms, how the atoms look like. Basically what they people had done, they take the alpha particle. Basically alpha particle is the nucleus of the helium atom, and it consists of the two proton and two neutron, as you can see. And they bombard the alpha particle on the gold target, gold atom, basically you can say. And you know that the gold atom has the 79 protons and 197 minus 79 neutrons. So comparable to the alpha particle, the gold atom is so bulky. So in the first image, you can see the alpha particle is coming from the left side, or in the atom of the gold atom, and most of the alpha particle is going in the straight line without deflection, which is the outer one lines you can see. And the few lines which is closer to the nucleus, they is scattering at certain angle. And the lines which is far, that is scattering with the large angle, and that is close, that is scattering in the small angle. Why they are deflecting in this way? Because all the charge is situated at the center, means 79 protons, 79 coulomb charge at the center, and only 2 coulomb charge, that is the alpha particle has, it is coming close to the nucleus of the gold atom, and so they are deflecting. So here first thing you can see, the scattering means it is not necessary that two particles come closer and then they will strike for a small time. The scattering can be in a non-contact also, but one particle is coming in the force of the other potential. And from this experiment, Rutherford had make some observation. What is the observation? First, most of the alpha particle passing the straight through the gold foil. Second one is the sum of the alpha particles were scattered by the small angle, and third one is there are a few alpha particles that were scattered through a large angle. This angle is also important, as I explained earlier. It depends how much alpha particle close to the nucleus. The angle depends on that. And a few of the alpha particle were even scattered directly in the backward direction. With these observations, he takes some conclusion, and the conclusion is the large angle scattering of alpha particle could happen only if positive charge alpha particle being repelled by the massive positive charge concentrated on a very small space. Let us suppose if the alpha particle is just coming in the 180-degree back, it means that something which is positive charge is situated at a particular point. Means they discover there is a possibility of the nucleus at the center of the gold atom, and a few alpha particle is passing. Few alpha particle is passing at the some angle. It shows that the effect of the alpha particle is up to some distance, and after some distance most of the alpha particle is passing continuously without any deflection, means rest space of the atom is empty. So this is the experiment performed by the Rutherford. Prepare a theory, and according to theory जो हमको सही लगेगा, we will perform that experiment. In that case in that case the rest of the amount जो हमारा पैसा होगा वो waste नहीं होगा. So then the people start the theory of scattering. Now I am starting that thing. So here you can see that here you can see that the incident particle is coming from the left side, and there is a stationary target, and this target has a potential. It can has the repulsive potential as well as it can has the attractive potential also, and the particle is coming after the scattering. Particle is going in all the direction. Particle is going in all the direction, and we are here interested how much particle is crossing with this area dA. So how much particle is crossing with this area? In that case, we want to calculate the differential cross section. This differential cross section gives the number of particles scattered into the d omega in this region dA, or d omega solid angle, divided by incident flux. This will give you the differential cross section. Or definitely before going ahead, I want to describe you one thing. There is a two coordinate system. One is the Cartesian coordinate, and second one is the spherical polar coordinate. Here I am using the spherical polar coordinate. And basically, what is the spherical polar coordinate? Let us suppose you are moving on the solid, you are moving on the surface of the solid sphere. It means that you can change your r, your radius. You can change your theta, that is the polar angle. You can change your phi, that is the azimuthal angle. So using these three coordinates, we can go on the spherical coordinates. So that kind of coordinates I am going to use. So if I will get d sigma over d omega for any event, if for any event I am able to calculate what is the value of d sigma over d omega, then we can calculate how much the scattering flux is passing through the any of the area by putting the simple limit of the theta and phi in the spherical polar coordinate. And then if I will get the d sigma over d omega, then I will calculate the total cross section. Basically total cross section sigma is equals to d sigma over d omega by putting the spherical polar coordinate limit. Or if I am interested to get the total cross section in some particular area, then I have to put the limit with respect to that spherical polar coordinate. So here I am taking the spherical symmetry in my scattering potential. So I am putting the 0 to pi for the polar angle, and I am putting the limit for 0 to 2 pi for the azimuthal angle. So now here we are so in each and every program, when we are discussing about the quantum scattering, we are interested to calculate what is the value of d sigma over d omega. After calculating the d sigma over d omega, we are interested to calculate the sigma values. So here scattering amplitude, what we, sorry, any
3 बजे डिजिटल इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स का टेस्ट ले लेंगे.
Sagar sir, you are saying something?
यार भाई तुम बना दो, मैं कितना करूंगा, मैं दिन भर मेरे को मतलब.
Hello, my voice is audible for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now finally we are starting here quantum theory of scattering. Here we are in case of the quantum theory, we are taking a plane wave which is coming from the left side, and the plane wave and the plane wave has the wave amplitude, wave magnitude is wave vector basically k naught, and it is coming towards a potential that is the central potential, basically spherical potential. And when the particles comes, they interact with this central potential, then they go out in all the directions. Basically waves goes out to in all the direction. So here one thing is interesting. We can say that the outgoing wave is spherical wave, because the wave is going in all the direction. Incident wave is the simple plane wave which is coming in the k naught, having the k naught wave vector, but outgoing wave is the spherical wave because particle can scattered out from any of the direction. And here we are interested how much amount of this scattered wave, which is spherically symmetric, is crossing this area d omega. Similarly, before performing any experiment, we have to fix something like what is the energy of the particle, what will be the area of my experiment, what will be the other sources for my experiment. Similarly, when we perform some, when we establish some theory, we have to take some initial consideration, and that consideration is we are talking about the elastic scattering. Here we are taking the non-relativistic, means we are not considering the relativistic correction up to this point. And third is the time independent, means what is the potential here that can be gravitational potential, that can be your Coulomb potential, Yukawa potential, cell model potential, and other kind of potential. And the all potential is time independent, means this potential will not change according to the as the time is changing. So I hope you are understanding the incoming wave is the plane wave, and the scattered wave is the scattered wave will be the spherical wave. So next, so here we can see that the incident wave, for the incident wave we can solve the Schrodinger equation for a free particle, because incident particle is coming from the x equal to minus ka infinity, simply using the Schrodinger equation del square psi upon del x square plus ka 2 me upon h cross ka square psi equal to 0, because here there is no potential, the value of potential is 0. Using this simple Schrodinger equation we will get the incident wave function corresponding to wave is equal to e ki power I k naught dot r. Okay. Now what is happening? Now what is happening with the scattered wave? How the scattered wave look like? What will be the function? What is the functioning of the scattered wave? Please make sure scattered wave. Here we know that the when a wave is scattered in the spherical direction, since our potential is spherically symmetric, then the spherical wave will be look like e to power ikr upon r, and you can say how we can say this will be the outgoing wave function of the wave, because this is the solution of the Schrodinger equation when our potential is spherically symmetric potential. And you can say that the psi is equal to e to power ikr upon r, and it is generally because the particle which is crossing near about the center is much more, and if we take the same area which is large, when the large we are far enough to the central potential, then the number of particles will be less, so the number of the particle will be decreased by the 1 by r factor. One more thing, in all like spherically symmetric potential means you have a cricket ball, and in the ball you have given some charge. In that case, if you throw some electron, they will feel the perfectly symmetric spherical potential. But in case you have a ball and you have आपने हथौड़े से उस पे हैमर मारा और वो कहीं से दब गई है, कहीं से उड़ गई है, in that case you don't have a spherically symmetric charge distribution, means your potential is not spherically symmetric. In that case your wave function will not be look like that. It is possible the particle is going from this direction will be much more, the particle is going from this direction will be less, and particle is going from this direction will be other, and this particle will going in this direction will be other thing. Means the outgoing wave is can be directionally dependent. What is the direction in case of the spherical coordinate? That is the theta and phi. So the my outgoing wave will be a into e to power ikr upon r, because it is the symmetric wave, but there is a constant of f theta and phi, and this f theta and phi has the information how the particle is distributed with the azimuth, how when we are changing the azimuthal angle and when we are changing the polar angle theta. And why somehow the f theta and phi is called the scattering amplitude, where k is the wave vector associated with the scattered particle. The one thing I want to tell you here, dimension play an important role in physics and in all these subjects, and with the help of the dimension analysis in any competitive exam you can solve 10% question with the help of the dimension only. Similarly, in this question, if I ask you what is the dimension of f theta and phi, see first equation, psi incidence a e to power I k naught r, E is the exponential, and there is something in the power of the exponential. Exponential means this is the dimensionless quantity, because the value of is 3.30, all of you know that, and the psi incidence will be a number only, a complex number. So there is for the complex number complex number there is no dimension. But in case of the psi scattering, e to power ikr again dimensionless quantity, but 1 upon r has the dimension of length. Since the wave function does not have any dimension, if 1 upon r has the dimension of length, then f theta and phi should have the dimension of length also, and then the dimension of f theta and phi or scattering amplitude is L. And later on I will give you one interesting thing, that that the differential cross section has the dimension of the area. So the differential section when we will see how the differential cross section is related to the scattering amplitude, then this dimension gives an important solution. So the total wave consists of the superposition of incident wave and scattered wave. The total wave which is scattering, that has the incidence wave also, because there is some amount of the incident wave that will not affect with the scattered potential, so that will go as it is. And the scattered wave, so the final wave function which is associated with the scattering wave is equals to a e की power I k naught dot r plus f theta and phi into e की power I k r upon r. Here you can see that at the one point I am using the k naught, and the another point I am using the k, because k naught is the wave vector of the incident wave, and when my wave is diffracted or scattered by the potential, then I am using the k, because the energy of my wave is changing, means wave number of the scattered wave and incident wave will be different. So I am using the k naught one side and I am using the k on the another side. So till now we have understand what is the outgoing wave function related to the scattered wave. Now here we want to see what is the relation between the differential cross section and scattering amplitude. Why we want to see this? Because if we know that what is the value of d sigma over d omega, which is directional dependent, if we know this thing, then we can calculate the cross sectional in any area where we want. अगर हम इस छोटे से के लिए कैलकुलेट कर लेते हैं, then by putting the limits of the spherical polar coordinate, then we will be able to calculate the differential cross section area of wherever we want. So I'm doing the next thing for this. We know that the psi incidence is a e की power I k naught dot r, and the second the scattered wave psi r is equals to phi incidence plus phi scatter, that is the a e की power I k naught r plus cap theta and phi e की power I k r upon r. And I think all of you know that the flux densities or probability current densities, which is explained in the quantum mechanics 1, which is given by the probability current density is equals to I h upon 2 mu is equals to psi into del psi star minus ka psi star del psi. This gives you how much of flux is passing through the associated wave function. If you have some wave function, and what is the flux of that, which is passing from the per unit time per unit area, with the help of J incidence we can calculate easily. And then J is the same thing we will have to do for the scattered wave. Again, I h cross upon 2 mu. This is the famous formula. I think all of you know about this. Then with the help of these two, we can calculate what is the scattering, what is the incident flux. So J incidence with the help of first equation and this equation, J incidence equal to a square h cross k naught upon mu. Sorry, I need the water. So here we can calculate J incidence equal to a square h cross k naught upon mu, and J scattering is equal to a square h cross k upon mu r square f theta and phi ka whole square. So from these two, from these two wave function, we are able to calculate what is the flux which is going on with the respected incidence wave and what with the respected of scattering wave. Now ultimately we are interested to calculate the differential cross section. So we know that now we may recall that the number of particles scattered into the element of solid angle d omega in the direction theta and phi and passing through the surface element dA, means how much amount of the wave is going in some particular solid angle. Here we are interested to calculate, or how much amount of particles which is going in particular solid angle. Then that is given by the dn jc multiplied by r square d omega, means scattering flux multiplied by dA, and the value of dA is equals to r square d omega. Here we can see that jc is equals to r square. Basically in the right side was dn upon d omega. So dn upon d omega is equals to jc r square, and from the previous slide we can put the value of jc is equals to mod a ka square h cross upon mu f theta and f theta phi का whole square.
सर एक मिनट,
Sorry.
सर टाइम जो है वो लगभग 1 मिनट ही बचा है, तो वापस रिजॉइन कर लीजिएगा सभी, ठीक है? जैसे ही अगर आपकी लिंक फेल होती है तो उसके बाद वापस सब रिजॉइन कीजिएगा, ठीक है? ओके, थैंक यू. हाँ, आगे बढ़ाइए सर.
Should I start?
हाँ 1 मिनट ही बचा है अब, मतलब वैसे भी
ओके सर, ओके मैं जस्ट जल्दी से फिनिश करता हूँ सर फिर.
हाँ हाँ नहीं,
So
वापस
here
वापस
dn
रिजॉइन कर लेंगे
see the
सभी,
value of dn.
रिजॉइन कर लेंगे वापस, कोई ऐसी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, है ना? हाँ, ठीक है ठीक है.
हाँ सर, I'm just finishing this. No issue. So here you can see that the how much amount of the particle or how much amount of the wave is going in that solid angle d omega is given by jc r square, and then dn upon d omega is equals to jc r square, and then we put the value of the flux of the scattered wave, that is jc r square. We will get this. I think the participant has joined.
हाँ हाँ कर लिया है ऑलमोस्ट.
Yes, sir. Mute ourselves. Do not disturb to others.
Hello.
हाँ हाँ हाँ
हाँ सर, कंटिन्यू कर सकते हैं आप.
कंटिन्यू कर लीजिए.
Okay.
होगा इनफ पीपल सर.
Okay, sir. Okay. So sorry for the disturbance. Basically, in each and every problem, we are interested to calculate what is the scattering cross section d sigma over d omega, and we know that as I have already explained, what is the d sigma over d omega? It is the ratio of the dn over d omega upon j incidence. Basically, it is the probability how much particle is crossing this particular solid angle dn over d omega, and that is divided by the total incident flux j incidence, and that's come out to k over k naught f theta and phi. Now, if we talk about the elastic scattering, in case of the elastic scattering, the energy of the incident wave and energy of the outgoing wave will be same, means there is no loss of the energy. In that case, the and in case of the quantum mechanics, where energy is equals to h cross k square upon 2m, so it will be h square k cross k square upon 2m. In another case, h cross k square k prime k square upon 2m. So basically it is only k dependent. If energy is same, then the wave vector will be same. In that case, in case of the elastic scattering, the k naught will be is equal to k. Then our scattering cross section d sigma over d omega is simply directly related to my scattering amplitude f theta and phi. Now if in any problem I am able to calculate what is the value of scattering amplitude f theta and phi, then I am simply know the differential cross section, and here d sigma over d omega differential cross section is directional dependent quantity, which depends on the azimuthal angle phi and the polar angle theta. Now if I know the differential cross section, then I can get how much flux is scattering in any of the direction by simply putting the limits. And if I want to get the total diffraction cross section, then I will put the spherical polar coordinate limit 0 to pi and 0 to 2 pi polar coordinate and spherical azimuthal angle respectively. Now the problem of determining the differential cross section d sigma over d omega therefore reduce that of obtaining the scattering amplitude f theta and phi basically. Now here that's it for my side for today, and tomorrow again I will start from this point to forward. And thank you so much. This is my the mail ID also. You can mail me if you have any question, or you can drop the question in our respected group also.
Okay, 1 minute. So thank you very much, sir, for a very nice lecture. Some people, some students want to ask a question. Okay, so I wrote on the PPT. Okay, I will share it. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
1 minute, just a bit.
सर अनम्यूट करें बीडी सर को.
कर रखा है ना, नहीं कर रखा है? देखो बताओ मुझे एक बार.
सर नहीं कर रखा है.
नहीं कर रखा, पहले अनम्यूट. 1 मिनट में आपको होगा. ओके
हो गया.
हाँ 1 मिनट रुकेगा. जस्ट वेट. ओके, वन ऑफ द गाय दिख रहा है स्क्रीन? विजिबल है? Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Basically,
scattering
phenomena depend.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This question asked by
basically
someone.
Scattering. Yes, sir. Basically, scattering phenomena depends on